Namaskar, good morning to all of you. I warmly welcome all of you here to our virtual discourse this morning. So we are going to start with a couple of prayers. I welcome Mr. Kamran Hemati, who is going to recite a prayer for us. I welcome Madam Farida Wahidi, who is the keynote speaker this morning. Mr. Ganesh Shinoy, are you there? I cannot see. Yes. Mr. Shinoy, are you there? Yes. Mrs. Basanti also, we have requested Mrs. Basanti also to recite a prayer. So we're going to have three prayers in the very beginning. The first prayer will be played electronically, and it will be followed by a prayer by Mrs. Basanti, and then finally the prayer will be chanted by Mr. Kamran Hemati. So when your turn comes, kindly unmute yourself and recite your prayers, and then we'll formally begin the program. So I request Adib, can you please play the prayer in the beginning?
हे अस्तित्व के पुत्र, तू मेरा दीपक है, तुझ में मेरा प्रकाश है। तू मेरा दीपक है, तुझ में मेरा प्रकाश है। तू मेरा दीपक है। उसमें से अपनी कांति प्राप्त कर, तू उसमें से अपनी कांति प्राप्त कर। मेरे अतिरिक्त किसी अन्य की कामना ना कर। तू मेरा दीपक है, तुझ में मेरा प्रकाश है। तू मेरा दीपक है। मैंने तुझे समृद्ध बनाया है, मैंने तुझे समृद्ध बनाया है। और उदारता से अपनी कृपा तुझ पर बरसाई है। तू मेरा दीपक है, तुझ में मेरा प्रकाश है। तू मेरा दीपक है।
ईश्वर मेरी आत्मा को नवस्फुरति तथा प्रफुल्लिता प्रदान कर। हे ईश्वर मेरी आत्मा को नवस्फुरति तथा प्रफुल्लिता प्रदान कर। मेरे हृदय को निर्मल कर दे, मेरे मानस को प्रकाशित कर दे। मैं अपने समस्त कार्यकलापों को तेरे ही कर कमलों में समर्पित करता हूँ, समर्पित करता हूँ। तू है मेरा मार्गदर्शक तथा आश्रय है। मैं अब ना अधिक दुखी तथा शोकाकुल ना रहूंगा, ना अब और अधिक चिंताग्रस्त रहूंगा, और ना ही स्वयं को कष्टों द्वारा उत्पीड़ित होने दूंगा। मैं जीवन के अप्रिय वस्तुओं के मोर अपना मन ना लगाऊंगा। हे ईश्वर तू मुझ पर मुझसे भी अधिक दयालु है, और है ना मैं स्वयं को तेरे चरणों में समर्पित करता हूँ, समर्पित करता हूँ। हे नाथ मैं स्वयं को तेरे चरणों में समर्पित करता हूँ, समर्पित करता हूँ। आ
O son of being, my love is my stronghold. He that entereth therein is safe and secure, and he that turneth away shall surely stray and perish. O son of being, my love is my stronghold. He that entereth therein is safe and secure, and he that turneth away shall surely stray and perish. O Son of Being, my love is my stronghold.
Good morning, a warm welcome to all of you again, once again. I'm very happy that we have lots of participants today, and many of the friends are joining from abroad. So it's quite interesting to see many people. Okay, let me introduce our speaker today morning and the subject. Friends, you all know that we have been organizing this kind of programs for a couple of months on the onset of the pandemic. All the programs are held online now. And you know that the education remains at the center of the Baha'i community all over the world. And we have been running several programs for the children, for the young adults, and for the adults. We have study sessions, we have interactive classes for them, focusing on moral education. And similarly, on that line, we also hold these discourse and seminars in order to bring about positive vibes in the society, to influence the thought process of the policymakers, and to interact together how to bring about an inclusive society for the future and for our future generations. So today we have the eminent speaker from US, who was serving in India as the head of the Office for Advancement of Women and Office of Public Affairs for probably more than 15 years. And she also served as the head of the empowerment of young adults department of the City Mentorship School in Lucknow before she left India, and she's currently living in US. Although it is late evening in US, but she has kindly consented to address us today morning, and we are going to hear in a short time. Today's morning's discussion that we are going to have, it's about the nobility of man, and how we have to go beyond acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge is a subject which is very interesting for many people all over the world, and we know that there is a huge explosion of knowledge in the last century, and knowledge has caused upliftment of the society, advancement of the civilization, but at the same time it has remained as huge controversy. It has caused devastation in the civilization. It has caused barriers between man and God, and it has also caused a lot of controversies because of intellectual so to say activism, or whatever you can call, and they can go to any extent to express their intellectual power. So therefore, on this subject, how the knowledge can bring about nobility in human beings, and how it can contribute to our own individual growth and the collective happiness and a better society, that we are going to hear from Madam Farida Wahidi today morning. So may I kindly request Madam Farida Wahidi to kindly unmute her and to address us.
Beloved friends, a very good day to all of you, and greetings from us here in US. And as dear Jiten mentioned, that my husband and I, we have come to US particularly because of the circumstances, and we needed to be here to take care of my mom. But India is home, and we look forward to our trip back to India. The topic that has been selected and chosen by Jiten is a very interesting topic, and it is something that the majority of the people of the world are concerned about. And I think we and all of us are trying to learn and understand the significance of this notion of the nobility of man and of the importance of acquisition of knowledge. One of the things that Mr. Jiten had already put in his invitation, which is very, very nice, is that how knowledge has always contributed to the advancement of civilization, and misuse of knowledge has contributed just the opposite, to the destruction. Now, when we look at civilization, we see that there have always been two sources of knowledge that have guided the destiny of humanity and the civilization building process. One has been science and the other has been religion. And for as long as these two sources of knowledge have been in harmony, they have contributed to advancement in the true sense. Religion without science can lead to superstitions and unintelligent dogmas and fundamentalism. And science without religion can also lead to crude materialism, which is extremely destructive in nature. And we can see the impact of that materialism today in the world. Therefore, we realize and understand that in order for humanity and for civilization to progress, it is imperative that science and religion should go hand in hand. One of the things that is a question on the mind of everybody today is an answer to this question, that are human beings inherently violent in nature? What is the true nature of human beings? This is a question that is always there in the mind of psychologists, philosophers, educationists, and it has been guiding a lot of knowledge generation. We know from many of the world's holy scriptures that there is a reference to this, that God created man in his own image. Now, it is important to understand this concept and not to have different interpretations for it, but to understand it in the way that it is intended. One of the things that is important to mention is that different faiths have had different perspectives, but then in reality, all of them are actually heading towards one truth and reality, and that is that human beings potentially are able to reflect all the attributes of God. And that is the true meaning of man being created in the image of God. Our conception of God cannot go anywhere beyond that of a manifestation of God or a prophet of God. Why? Just because a painting can never understand the painter, we human beings can never understand the true nature and the essence of God. And therefore, in order for us to be guided in our journey of spiritual growth and transcendence, God sends his own divine emissaries, divine educators. In our terminology, we call them manifestations of God, who come and guide humanity to understand the purpose of life and to work towards the fulfillment of that purpose for the advancement of civilization. So one of the things that is important to bear in mind is Do we think that every human being is spiritual, is divine? Then what is the reason for all the problems that we are having in the society today, for the crime, for the violence that is happening? I think an answer to this is to be found in the notion of the dual nature of man, that human beings have both an angelic side as well as an animalistic side. That in their angelic side, they reflect the attributes of the divine, provided the mirror of their heart is cleansed of the dust and dross of this material animalistic world. In the animal side, then they tend to become violent and perpetuate activities which are so unseemly of the high nature of man. One of the ways in which we are able to really nurture our spiritual side, one, of course, is the full conviction of our nobility. The second is that it is very important for the soul to be always in that state of consciousness, in the sense to be fully aware of the purpose for which it has been created. One of the faculties of the soul is justice. Justice is that power, is that force which enables the individual to investigate truth and reality and to acquire knowledge independently without blind imitation. When individuals allow the rational soul, this faculty, this beautiful thing that God has gifted humanity with, to investigate truth and reality, in this manner, we are actually able to overcome all kinds of prejudices, because that aspect of investigation will help us to see that truth and reality is one, that God has created men and women both in his own image and likeness, and therefore there is no distinction, that there is no distinction of race, of class, of caste, that all have been created in his image. And therefore, to honor that nobility, we shun prejudices. The other aspect, which is very important, and without which it will not be possible to grow spiritually, is to be engaged in service to the common will. If we don't engage in service, this process of spiritual growth itself can become a cause of pride, a cause of ego, a cause of aloofness towards the rest, and lead to the notion of us versus them, which is the very root cause of estrangement, which is a problematic situation which divides people, which doesn't allow them to come together and near to each other. There are certain other forces that definitely help a lot in this process of spiritual growth. So one of them is attraction to beauty, and the other one is thirst for knowledge. Now, thirst for knowledge is actually satisfied through that process of investigation of truth and reality. And attraction to beauty will always help us to appreciate order in the world, in the society, work towards the establishment of justice in society. And it is not something that is not within the purview of man. Everybody, whether they be children, junior youth, or adults, can be active contributors in this process. Now, when we mentioned in the very beginning that knowledge has always contributed to the advancement of civilization, we must also bear in mind the fact that in the world of humanity today, as we see, there are two forces, two processes that are going parallel with each other. One of them, as we see very clearly, is the process of disintegration. And the process of disintegration is very visible. The moment we turn on the television to hear the news, or we read newspaper, or we go online and read the news of what is happening in the world, one is filled with dismay at the kind of situation that the world is getting into. It is not just the political thing, it's also economic. It is today, we have seen for more than a year now, the pandemic itself, the challenges that are happening in the world, the breakdown of family ties, this standard of morality and rectitude of conduct, the increase in corruption, you name it, it is constantly in view. And so it makes us think that what's happening to humanity? Where are we going? On the other hand, is the process of integration. We see that there are a lot of people, a good number of people in the world today, who are seriously considering the role that they can play, meaning that they are not considering themselves to be spectators. They are not waiting for something to happen magically. They realize that it is within the power of the human beings to transform society. And they understand that this process of transformation of society can only begin with the transformation of self. So when they start this process of individual transformation, they are empowered to engage in the transformation of society. One other avenue in which we are really able to contribute to the process of integration is to have activities of this nature that Jiten has organized. That is, people from different walks of life, in different professions, in different responsible positions in the society, they get together and have discourses on various issues. The aim of the discourse is always to go deeper and deeper into this process of investigation of reality. And one thing that I think we must always remember is that history is a testimony of the fact that civilization advanced and it resulted in the unification at the family level, tribal level, national level. And that today, the time is propitious for the realization of the millennia-old promise of the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth, or of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, as we believe in the Vedic scriptures, that the whole human family is one family. The whole world is but one family, and it is possible to achieve it. The betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds, through commendable and seemly conduct. It is left to us as human beings to make that choice, because our rational choice, our rational soul has the power of choice. Jiten, I think you wanted not to go beyond 15 minutes. I am not sure whether I have taken more than that or. But since it's a discourse, I think we are open for discussions and invite comments from all the friends. Maybe till Jiten comes and starts to take over, I could just add one more point, and that is that the unification of the human race is a process that may take decades or even centuries to happen. But it is an organic process which requires a complete change in every aspect of human life, at every level of human interactions and relationships. Relationships between individuals, relationship of individuals with nature, the relationship of individuals with community, with institutions, at all levels. And there are certain principles that have to guide this process of unification. We mentioned harmony of science and religion. Others are the equality of men and women, and not the polarization of the sexes, but an equality that is achieved within the overall umbrella of the oneness of humanity. One world language, the establishment of universal peace, spiritual solutions to economic problems. These are all principles that have to guide this organic process of unification of the entire human race. So Jiten, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Am I audible? I actually got disconnected, so I had to reconnect the downside of technology, you know. I don't know what happened. Anyway, you know, there are so many questions. I'm sure the participants will come up and will ask you, and other eminent friends, our former speakers are here, so they will also pose questions to them. So, you know, in the traditional view, always the knowledge brings enlightenment, and you know, people go to those people, those who are highly knowledgeable, to seek their blessings. But you know, the question always remains that, is it automatic? Those who are knowledgeable, do they get enlightenment automatically? You know, that we understand your point of view, what we explained to us. So we are going to discuss a little bit later about all this. Now I will request Dr. Merchant, are you here? Please unmute yourself, and I request you kindly read the personal quotes.
Yeah, I was just conveying my appreciation for the inspiring prayers and the wonderful presentation by Mrs. Farida Wahidi. And I was writing a question that how can this acquisition of the true knowledge, both the scientific, technological knowledge on the one hand, and the spiritual or the religious knowledge. So I recall that, you know, about 25 years ago, UNESCO created a very important think tank of some 16 people from throughout the world under the chairmanship of Jacques Delors. And they came up with a document called Learning the Treasure Within. I'll briefly explain. They said that in order to benefit from the knowledge that's available to humanity, we have to create a system of how we can acquire it. And they clearly identified the human being as a learner. And that's why the title of the document is Learning, the Treasure Within. So, and they said that this process needs to be anchored on certain pillars, which are clearly understandable in our systems of education. So they said that the first pillar of learning is learning to know, which in India we say Gyan Yog. The second pillar of learning is learning to do, which is Karam Yog. The third pillar is learning to live together. Mrs. Wahidi clearly underlined, you know, that the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is there. The oneness of humanity is a reality. But so why can't the humans, they have not learned how to live together, learning to live together. And the fourth pillar they identified was learning to be, which in our Indian parlance, we will say Atma Yoga, the, you know, self-realization. So on the basis of these four pillars of learning, they created a very wonderful document, which UNESCO then presented to the entire human society through their respective governments. And many of the governments incorporated a lot of the materials that were developed into their educational system. So today, a big challenge, as Mrs. Wahidi has clearly pointed out, how can we help our children strike a right balance in acquiring knowledge that will be spiritually uplifting, which will keep them morally upright and on the right path, because the source of all spiritual knowledge is the religious scriptures. And the second is, how do we apply the scientific and the technological knowledge for the welfare and the benefit of humankind? So I felt that I should flag these 4 pillars of learning, because after all, as she said in the opening remarks, that our Creator has deposited all the attributes and virtues in the most complete manner in every human being. So no wonder the title, Learning the Treasure Within, is a very interesting process of discovering this treasure. And once a human being from childhood is trained to walk this path, then the process will have its own, dynamics of involving larger and larger numbers to walk the same path of discovering the treasure that is within us. And through those treasures, we can create a world community, a world civilization that will no more know any conflict or war, greed, hatred, prejudices. All of that will be set aside because we will see only the positive side of our existence. So thank you, Mr. Jiten Mishra, Dr. Jiten Mishra, for allowing me to add a little bit of this UNESCO's contribution to the process of acquiring true knowledge.
So you can read now the motivational quotes.
Yes, thank you. All right, I also have the motivational quotes from the various scriptures. The very first one is from the Bhagavad Gita. All living beings are divine souls. God is seated in everyone, and hence all are equally respect worthy. Better indeed is knowledge than mechanical practice. Better than knowledge is meditation. Then Lord Krishna says, I am the goal of life, the Lord, and support of all, the inner witness, the abode of all. I am the only refuge, the one true friend. I am the beginning, the staying, and the end of creation. I am the womb and the eternal seed. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless work, one attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. From the Holy Quran, O mankind, reverence your guardian Lord, who created you from a single soul, and serve Allah, and do not associate anything with him, and be good to the parents and to the near of your kin, and the orphans and the needy and the neighbor of your kin, and the alien neighbor, and the companion in a journey, and the wayfarer, and those whom your right hands possess. Surely Allah does not love him who is proud and boastful. Next, we have from the Holy Bible, God created man in his own image, and in the image of God, he created him. Of course, this is gender neutral because it's both men and women. The Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. Then from Lord Buddha, Gautama Buddha, teach this truth to all. A generous heart, kind speech, and a life of service and compassion are the things which renew humanity. Set your heart on doing good. Do it over and over again, and you will be filled with joy. If you light a lamp for somebody, it will also brighten your path. If you find no one to support you on the spiritual path, walk alone. There is no companionship with the immature. In the end, these things matter most. How well did you love? How fully did you live? How deeply did you let go? One moment can change a day, one day can change a life, and one life can change the world. Then next we have from the Baha'i writings, every created thing in the whole universe is but a door leading into his knowledge. That is the knowledge of God. Is it not astonishing that although man has been created for the knowledge and love of God, for the virtues of the human world, for spirituality, heavenly illumination, and eternal life, nevertheless, he continues ignorant and negligent of all this. Consider how he seeks knowledge of everything except knowledge of God. For instance, his utmost desire is to penetrate the mysteries of the lowest strata of the earth. Day by day, he strives to know what can be found 10 meters below the surface, what he can discover within the stone, what he can learn by archaeological research in the dust. He puts forth arduous labors to fathom terrestrial mysteries, but is not at all concerned about knowing the mysteries of the kingdom, traversing the illimitable fields of the eternal world, becoming informed of the divine realities, discovering the secrets of God, attaining the knowledge of God, witnessing the splendors of the Son of Truth, and realizing the glories of everlasting life. The first teaching of Baha'u'llah is the duty incumbent upon all to investigate reality. What does it mean to investigate reality? It means that man must forget all hearsay and examine truth himself, for he does not know whether statements he hears are in accordance with reality or not. Wherever he finds truth or reality, he must hold to it, forsaking, discarding all else. For outside of reality, there is naught but superstition and imagination. Baha'u'llah has written that man should know his own self and recognize that which leadeth unto loftiness or lowliness, glory or abasement, wealth or poverty. The root of the exaltation of man is the good attributes and virtues which are the adornments of his reality. These are the divine appearances, the heavenly bounties, the sublime emotions, the love and knowledge of God, universal wisdom, intellectual perception, scientific discoveries, justice, equity, truthfulness, benevolence, natural courage, and innate fortitude, the respect for rights and the keeping of agreements and covenants, rectitude in all circumstances, serving the truth under all conditions. Thank you. That was from the Baha'i writings.
Thank you, Dr. Merchant. Now, before we open the floor and hear from the participants their observations or questions, whatever they wish to raise, we can request if any of the, we have Mrs. Mokbelpur, we have, well, I cannot see everyone. There are many eminent people. If anyone else wants to share something, then we will unmute him and we will unmute them and they can share their views. You can raise your hands or you can, okay, okay. So maybe during the open floor, we will. Okay, okay, all right. So now the question and answer time. We will keep the floor open, and I will first ask who is there. We have Mr. Bhupinder Singh with us. I will ask him to unmute himself and share his views. Mr. Bhupinder Singh, are you there? Are you there, Mr. Singh? Are you there? No, I can't see him. I can't see him. Yeah, I can't see him. Okay, then we will go to Mr. Singh is not there. Then we'll go to Mrs. Mogwelpur. We will request her to share her thoughts, and then of course she has an additional responsibility today morning for reading us the statement of pledges. But before that, I request her to share her views, observations. If there is anything that we should consult, then we will do. Mrs. Mogwelpur, please unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Jiten, for giving me this opportunity. But dear Farida, it was so beautiful, so enlightening, and you have gone through all the points which was really needed for this discourse. And also Dr. Merchant, thank you so much for referring to Holy Scriptures and making it more confirmed what we had discussed. And I again come back to my field of education. I think it's again coming back to education. So we have a strong responsibility of making this true. Because when we talk of nobility of man and we talk of acquisition of knowledge, then again, we get back to education, that how education is important to make it happen. That really, if we take care of our children, our youths, junior youths, it will really make a big difference. And once each of us, no matter what the age may be, understand the nobility of our station, I think we will really be a transformed individual. Because that will really transform the individual. If you know that you are being created noble, so certainly you will take care of it, that you should not abase yourself and you should not really disappoint your creator. So I think this is a very, very alarming kind of a topic for all of us. And certainly we look into the practical aspect of it, that how acquisition of knowledge is going to help. But whether acquisition of knowledge is leading to nobility or nobility is leading to acquisition of knowledge, it is something which should be debated upon, because especially in the history, we have come across some individuals who had not the knowledge of reading and writing, who did not have the knowledge of academics, but they were noble human beings and they were enlightened people. So what knowledge we are talking about is the knowledge of God, which was very clearly explained by Dr. Merchant while going through the holy writings. So I think this acquisition of knowledge of God is so important, which has to be inclusive of all the curriculum of education in every level, and particularly with regards to the children. so that they understand the concepts of love of God and fear of God. And that would be certainly helping them to protect their nobility and to put it in the best way possible. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to say a few words.
Okay, thank you very much. I also see that my friend, my very dear friend from Spain has joined. He has been my colleague for a long time for the government of Spain, and he is an engineer, an army officer for the government. So can I request him to share his thoughts for a few minutes? Mr. Ramon, are you there? Can you hear me? Please unmute yourself. Please unmute. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Hello to everybody. It's really my pleasure to meet you all through this channel. Thank you so much, Jiten, for inviting me to hear these wonderful speakers and sharing their knowledge about this very interesting matter. So I can't say at this moment right now very much about this matter. I find it very interesting. Now I full share the spirit of the speakers today, and also my how would I say, also my worries about precisely we are living here in Europe a deep lack of religion's purposes in the life. I mean, we are supporting just by one of the pillars, which is the scientific knowledge. We strongly believe that science is the only explanation for mankind. No, and I think this is we are heading towards a very dark world, providing we follow this way. No, so it will be very interesting for all of us to share all this knowledge coming right now from India. You know. Okay, thank you so much, Jiten.
Most
for being
okay, bye. Yes. Okay. Can I request who else is there? Mr. Hemmati, would you like to share your views for a few minutes? Please unmute yourself.
Okay. A very good morning and good afternoon to all. It's a really enlightened gathering. I congratulate all the speakers, Farida, ma'am, and Dr. Merchant, and then everyone, Nadia Khanum, and then the dear friend from Spain. What I believe sincerely is that in one of his writings, Baha'u'llah says, could you apprehend with what munificence of my bounty I have will to entrust your souls? You would be dumbfounded. No? This is the treasure within, the knowledge within. If we could understand what treasure is within, with what munificence of my bounty I have will to entrust your souls, Baha'u'llah says. And then he says, oh friends, be not neglectful of your high destiny. You are the stars of the heaven of understanding. The breeze that is stirred at the break of day. The soft flowing waters upon which must depend the very life of all men. So if we become a little more conscious, I think Mrs. Farida very beautifully explained, to be conscious, having conscious knowledge and conscious subjects of our own transformation and transformation of society. But negligence comes to us. And I believe in our school also that the key is prayer. You know, shortcut. For many things we want to find a shortcut. But when we pray, when we ask divine assistance, oh God, thou art my creator, thou art my guide, and my refuge. Thou enlighten my heart. Thou let me do something of whatever is pleasing to thee. So prayer, then reading from the writings, and then as mentioned, application of knowledge, all this, and then practically through our children classes, junior youth, in our schools, and greatly we can transform and bring about the ever advancing civilization. Thank you so much.
Okay. So any other friends wants to share his views before we go to the statement of pledges? Please raise your hands. I have to see that, then we can unmute you. Yeah, it's very difficult to see everyone online who wants to say something. It's very difficult to see. Okay. All right. So, yes, I think Mrs. Mitra wants to share. Please unmute yourself. Okay. Please unmute. Can you unmute yourself? Yes. Yes.
Yes. I'm audible, sir?
Yes. Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. All are my teachers. I'm quite young in front of all of you, but let me share one wonderful prayer which I have heard when I joined Blossom School, and it was this prayer was given by my founder director, ma'am, Nadia ma'am, and I liked it so much. I am still continuing it, and I also do it in my practical life. That is one of the prayer of Baha'u'llah, that the highest prayer is imparting knowledge to the ignorance. Really touched my heart. And this discourse, I liked it very much, very much. It is helping me a lot because I pick up the value education class in my school. Thank you. Really, the prayers gives a lot. It just gives food to our soul, you can say. Every time we hear it, as if our soul is washed.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Our soul is washed every time. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, madam. Next, we go to Mr. Nuriazdan. If he is there, please unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? Yes. No? Yes. Yes, please.
Dear friends, it's my pleasure to attend this gathering and the very enlightening talks by dear Farida and Dr. Merchant and the comments of the dear friends. We do believe that knowledge leads to faith, and faith must lead to action. For Baha'u'llah said the essence of faith is fewness of words and abundance of deeds. And if we do not reflect in our daily lives the spiritual teachings of the latest revelation, then we invite problems that we are faced with today. And I would like to read very briefly 2-3 sentences from some of the writings of the Blessed Beauty Baha'u'llah. He has written, the vitality of men's belief in God is dying in every land. Nothing short of his wholesome medicine can restore it. The corrosion of ungodliness is eating into the vitals of human society. What else but the elixir of his potent revelation can cleanse and revive? And he has gone further. He has given us a warning. He has given us a time schedule. And Baha'u'llah has written in another tablet, we have fixed a time for you, O people. If ye fail at the appointed hour, if ye fail at the appointed hour, to do what? To turn towards God. He verily will lay violent hold on you. If ye fail to turn towards God, what is the consequence? Baha'u'llah said, He verily will lay violent hold on you and will cause grievous afflictions to assail you from every direction. How severe indeed is the chastisement which your Lord will then chastise you. And this is the chastisement, I believe, that the world, society is faced today. And it is the elixir, the panacea of remedy for this world is to turn away from materialism and to inculcate the spirits of spirituality, teachings of spirituality, and revive the soul of mankind. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we have, I think, one more person, then we will go to the reading of the statement of pledges. Mr. Motiwala, are you there? Yes, you can share your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a great gathering and there was much to learn. But while reflecting on the topic of nobility of humankind, we've been studying these themes in different ISGP programs, etc. And one of the problems that I was seeing is that while it is our aim to strive towards this nobility, we exist in a society which is constantly flooded with these degenerative forces, this de-integrating powers, which is constantly numbing the youths and taking away their energy and draining them of all power to strive towards this nobility. So the problem is there is so much, for instance, consumerism. There is so much of consuming of these social media. There is so much of comfort that the present world affords you. There is so much of ease at everything. And all of these factors, what they're doing is they're taking away your energy to strive towards nobility. And even though you see this statement given by Baha'u'llah that we have to aspire towards this nobility, we see it as a high goal that we are supposed to strive towards. But then the energy to go towards this is disappearing gradually, like the quote that was just read, that the vitality of faith is dying out in every region. So then again, yes, the House of Justice, as they mentioned, these three protagonists, the society, the institutions, and the individuals, that how even the individuals are shaped. So yeah, this was one of the questions also that, and sometimes, you know, by this age, by the time that youths realize that, yes, there are these degenerative forces existing in the society, much of the strength has already been lost mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually to strive towards that. Of course, I'm not projecting a hopeless situation, but just the existing problem that withholds us from striving towards this nobility. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very much true, and is one of the challenges we are facing in the society currently. And that Mrs. Wahidi was mentioning that education, Mrs. Mogulpur was mentioning education. The role of individual is the key here. How do we inculcate this kind of habits within the people around us? So any other views? Okay. All right. So we go to the reading of the statement of pledges. We do this practice at the end of our program all the time in order to, it's little childlike, but then, friends like it and they express, they repeat the sentences that we write. And it kinds of reminding us, to bring about consciousness within us. So I will request Mrs. Mogwelpur to kindly unmute and read the statement of pledges, and kindly read slowly so that the friends will be able to repeat after you. Adib, please unmute everyone. Friends, please unmute yourself.
Okay, so we here have the statement of pledges. You can repeat after me if you are mute or unmute, either cases. We recognize that
we recognize
man is created for the knowledge and love of God.
that man is created for the knowledge and love of God.
We understand that knowledge is God's gift.
That knowledge is God's
gift.
And the source of all knowledge is divine in nature.
And the source of all knowledge
is divine in nature.
Hence, we promise to educate our fellow humans.
Hence, we promise
to educate our fellow humans.
To discover reality behind every phenomenon.
To discover
reality behind every phenomenon.
Be humble.
Stay humble. Stay humble and love His creation.
Stay humble and love His creation.
We recognize that science and religion are the two knowledge systems.
Recognize that science and religion are the two knowledge systems.
Again, I repeat. We recognize that science and religion are the two knowledge systems for the advancement of civilization.
We recognize
science and religion
the knowledge systems for the advancement of civilization.
We understand that divine truth is not absolute, but relative and progressive.
We understand divine truth not absolute, but relative and progressive.
Therefore, we promise to seek truth.
Therefore, we promise
to seek truth,
hold and propagate a coherent view of life.
Hold and propagate a coherent view of life
based on the prescriptions of both these knowledge systems.
Based on the prescriptions of both these knowledge systems.
We recognize that the purpose of knowledge is to serve.
We recognize
that the purpose of knowledge is to serve,
empower people that lead to collective growth.
Empower people that lead to collective growth.
We promise to apply and diffuse knowledge that helps everyone to grow and build a better society.
We promise to grow and build a better society.
Build a better society.
We understand that human nobility is not necessarily to seek individual salvation.
We understand that nobility is not necessarily to seek individual salvation.
Rather to strive for collective prosperity and happiness.
Rather to strive for collective prosperity and happiness.
Therefore, we promise that our thoughts and actions will be selfless and for the benefit of all fellow humans.
Therefore, we
promise that our
promise
actions
our
will be
actions
selfless
will be
and
selfless
benefit
and
of
for the
all
benefit
fellow
for fellow
all
humans.
fellow
Fellow humans.
We recognize that every human being is created noble by God.
We recognize that
recognize that
human being is created noble by God.
by God.
Noble by God.
We recognize that the betterment of the world can be accomplished through human nobility.
We
Recognize
recognize
that the betterment of the world
world
accomplished
accomplished and nobility.
Human nobility.
We recognize that the betterment of the world can be accomplished through human nobility, pure and goodly deeds and conducts, and we promise to work towards it.
pure and good deeds.
Betterment of the world will be
God
accomplished
is and conducts and
Pure and good conducts and
To work
towards it.
towards it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Repeating after me. Thank
It was little chaotic, but it was okay.
Yeah.
With all the noise. Anyway, it is a good exercise for everyone just to remember what is our role in building a better society.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adib, can you remove the screen, please? Adib? Yes, yes. Okay, it is. Thank you so much, friends, for joining. The final comments, if any would, Mrs. Wahidi, would you like to have some final comments before we leave?
Yes, I will.
Please.
Yes, I would like to really thank the organizer, you yourself, and all the other friends who supported the program with the quotations, with their comments, etc. And I think it is very apt to say that today we live in a condition in the world where even the process of investigating scientific truth and knowledge is also become very difficult because of the fact that there is a lot of untruth being circulated. And this pandemic itself is a good testimony of how difficult it was to really know what is true and what is pseudo fact. But then it is important to know that in our quest towards transcendence and in our efforts in order to give a realization of the inherent nobility that we have, this process of education is a must, definitely, because without that, the power and the capacity of the individuals, the capability of the individuals to understand their true nature can never be nurtured. And therefore, the role of the educational institutions and the fact that there are so many school founders, principals sitting in this gathering today is really very praiseworthy. And I want to actually take the opportunity to wish them all the best and congratulate them for this meritorious service that they are doing. Thank you, Jiten, once again.
Thank you, Mrs. Wahidi. Thank you so much. I have Mr. Bhupinder Singh. He is back. I was requesting him a couple of minutes back. He is a Haryana Administrative Officer. He has joined us from Chandigarh. So I request him to share his few words before we conclude.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mishra sir. Thank you so much. And my apologies. There was a call, so I had to stay away from this meeting for a moment. So I could not give my comments when I was asked to. Anyways, in the beginning, there were beautiful prayers, and today's speech by Wahidi Madam is, so measured and so specific and so much, so invaluable. And again, Madam's speech, it underscored the fact that we are living in a global village. Due to the development of technology, now the distances between different parts of the world have almost vanished. There was a time when different cultures were developing in different parts of the world, and in different sections of humanity could actually afford to live in isolation from each other. But today it is not possible. Today this is a global village. There is no distance. The whole world is a very small village, closely linked society it has become. So it would be wise for each one of us on this earth to recognize this fact and live with the concept of universal brotherhood, considering each one of us as one, demolishing all barriers that exist between us in our minds. For the entire humanity has to live on the principles of universal brotherhood. So this ma'am's speech was wonderful, and I really congratulate her for such a beautiful speech today. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, most welcome. Now, Mr. Shinoy has requested for a song. Yes, that would be wonderful. Please sing a song. Please unmute yourself.
Friends, I really, it's a very thanks to Mrs. Farida Wahid. It was a wonderful talk, very comprehensive topic, but then she gave in a very, very simple word. Thank you so much, and the comments also given by the friends were excellent. And thank you, Jitan, for arranging this wonderful webinar. Let me give a song which is pertinent to, I think it's very apt to this occasion. ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा, मकीन हर मकान हूँ मैं, हर एक मकान है मेरा, हर एक मकान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा, मकीन हर मकान हूँ मैं, हर एक मकान है मेरा, हर एक मकान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा। क्यों कहूँ कि बस मेरा वतन ये मुल्क हिंद है, मैं क्यों कहूँ कि बस मेरा वतन ये मुल्क हिंद है, कि हूँ मैं सब जहान का, सभी जहान है मेरा, कि हूँ मैं सब जहान का, सभी जहान है मेरा, सभी जहान है मेरा, कि हूँ मैं सब जहान का, सभी जहान है मेरा, सभी जहान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा, मुसाफिरे अदम हूँ मैं, सफर में दम बेदम हूँ मैं, मुसाफिरे अदम हूँ मैं, सफर में दम बेदम हूँ मैं। जहाँ जहाँ है आदमी वो खानदान है मेरा, जहाँ जहाँ है आदमी वो खानदान है मेरा, वो खानदान है मेरा। जहाँ जहाँ है आदमी वो खानदान है मेरा, वो खानदान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा, फिजूल और बात है हमारी एक जात है, फिजूल और बात है हमारी एक जात है। मुझे किसी का डर नहीं, वो पासबान है मेरा, मुझे किसी का डर नहीं, वो पासबान है मेरा, वो पासबान है मेरा। मुझे किसी का डर नहीं, वो पासबान है मेरा, वो पासबान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा, मकीन हर मकान हूँ मैं, हर एक मकान है मेरा, हर एक मकान है मेरा। ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ganesh ji. It was so nice and very
Thank you,
apt for
sir.
the occasion.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to express my gratitude to Mrs. Farida Wahidi, Dr. Merchant, Mrs. Mughbalpur, Mr. Shinoy, Mr. and Mrs. Shinoy, Mr. Kamran Hemati and family, and all my other friends whom I don't see here much, but I'm grateful to all of you for joining. And you know that this exercise is done not to intellectually stimulate ourselves, but to understand that our responsibility, our individual responsibility is great, and we have to, kind of permeate the positive vibe around us, our extended family, our friends, our acquaintances, our neighbor, our compatriots, anyone that we see that the consciousness that we carry ourselves, they also have to carry the same consciousness, and it's a long way. It's no easy task, and the Baha'i community all over the world has been engaging itself in the educational efforts, as you all know. So we encourage and request all of you to join us in making our programs more successful, more result oriented, and let us together make this world a better place. That is our request and our invitation. Thank you so much once again for all of you for joining us, and we hope to see you again probably on 25th of April. We do it every 2 or 3 weeks with new subjects, with new speakers, with new thought-provoking sessions, and we wish to have more and more number of people in this direction. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. It was a great having all of you. Thank you so much.